Third grade, Unit 5, Crafting with Fractions. This unit is really all about fractions. But if you look at the standards, you'll see that although we have 3NFA1, 3NFA2, 3NFA3, we also actually have a geometry standard. There are only 3 geometry eligible content in third grade, and one of them is actually about fractions. So we cover the other 2 in another unit, but in this unit, you do address some geometry as you think about how do we partition shapes into equal areas. You look at all these other standards and you'll see that although there are only 3 main standards here, they have a lot of subparts. So make sure you really read through that language to understand all the depth of what's expected in third grade. I'll also point out that in third grade, they only need to use denominators of 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. So if you have fraction tiles, for example, and they come in fifths, remove them from the set. Or they have tenths or twelfths, remove them. If you come across any practice problems that have other denominators, remove them. We really want to stay focused on these kind of simple denominators that we can represent visually very easily and that we can use to develop good understanding. You'll notice we have our green one here that refers to topic B, and we have 3 blue, which refer to topic A. In topic A, you are really just developing an understanding of what is a fraction. How do we represent fractions using area models and number lines? What does the top number represent? What does the bottom number represent? Yes, you'll use the vocabulary numerator and denominator, but I would much rather that a student can explain what that bottom number tells me than that they can say it's a denominator. Once you understand fractions in topic A, you'll move into topic B where you apply and extend that understanding as you think about equivalent fractions and comparing fractions. This will be your opportunity to support students who need extra help with topic A as you work on topic B. When we think about the calendar, you'll see that, this unit starts mid-February and goes through a little over halfway through March. Kind of interestingly, if you're on pace, you'll notice that you have 3 half-day flex days during this unit. So I would encourage you to really think about how you'll use those days effectively. You still want to do a math lesson. Let's say you're a couple of days behind. This might actually be a really good day to do the pre-assessment since it's a short day, and then you could dive into day 2 right here on Tuesday. Another nice thing you could do on these half-day flex days is play some of the math games that are located in the inclusive student activities section in all of your different lessons. If you're really behind, if you do a performance task here, maybe you'll skip the performance task here and instead just opt for the post-assessment. I know we're starting to feel that PSSA pressure, so I'm trying to give you these ways to kind of save time, but you don't want to rush through this unit. It really is so important and foundational. In fourth grade, teachers have a lot of hard work to do with fractions, and it's really your job to set them up for success. Speaking of being set up for success, I do want to mention that the Coherence Map shows us that there were a couple of things students did in second grade that set us up for third grade. I'm mostly going to ignore this one because this is really all about measuring. And although that does help us as we think about number lines, it's not as relevant. What's super relevant, though, is this standard, 2GA3. Now, it was an additional standard, which means that although second grade teachers should have taught it, they probably didn't emphasize it very much, and you might need to do a little bit of acceleration to support students in this area. Although students haven't officially worked with fractions where they do 1 with a bar over 2, they've used informal language about fractions. They've talked about partitioning shapes into equal shares. These are terms that students may be familiar with. They've thought about how when they do that partitioning, they create equal halves, thirds, and even half of a shape or a third of a shape. I'm not saying students remember all this perfectly, but this is knowledge that you can leverage and or accelerate as you support students accessing the third grade standards. So down here, for example, you can see the type of problem that students may have been able to answer in second grade, which pictures show 1/2 of the shape shaded. Notice it's written as 1/2, not 1/2. They're really just focusing on that concept, not the actual work of writing a fraction. I see a half here, I see a half here. And that idea that these both represent a half started in second grade, and it really continues with that geometry standard. You can partition shapes into parts with equal areas. It doesn't really matter what they look like as long as they're equal areas. Then we know we've partitioned effectively. All right, what else do I want to point out for you? Well, I want to mention that there are, as always, some lessons that are NA for Envision and Expressions. Let's start with Expressions. Part of the reason you'll see several NAs is that Expressions doesn't spend enough time on fractions, so we wanted to give you additional ways to support students' understanding. For example, if I go here, I'll go back here for a second. When we think about topic A, we said topic A is all about understanding fractions. Students understand fractions here in the beginning of Unit 4. That matches up with our topic A. Topic B, where we're doing comparing and equivalent fractions, matches up with Unit 5, Big Idea 2. That's barely any lessons right there. That's just 4 lessons. When you look at ours, we have way more than 4. So you will see some NA days. That's because we want to give you extra support to help your students. When I go to Envision, topic A, which was all about understanding fractions, reflects topic 12, understanding fractions. And when I think about topic B, which is comparing and equivalent, that refers to topic 13, equivalence and comparison. One last thing I do want to mention related to the relationship with the programs, I'm going to go in here into topic 12, and I will notice that toward the end of topic 12, they do line plots. If you go into our Unit 5, you are not going to see line plots anywhere. The reason for that is that we actually started Unit 6 with line plots. So we finish up all of our work with fractions, we get to Unit 6, which is about data and measurement, and that is where we do these line plots. So we start off Unit 6, measuring using rulers. What a great way to reinforce the fractions that we just did in Unit 5. And then we do line plots with fractions. Again, a great way to reinforce Unit 5. So as you finish up Unit 5, you can think about how you can use Unit 6 to reinforce. But as you're going through Envision and you're thinking to yourself, why are we skipping these lessons? We'll get to them at the beginning of Unit 6. If you want to do them now, or actually same thing with expressions, oops, there's some measuring. If you want to do those lessons now, go for it. Doesn't really matter. They're making the connection to fractions. We just decided to pull those out, save them for Unit 6 when we can put them into the context of measurement. One last thing I want to point out. There is an entire standard in third grade all about number lines. I think we're always really tempted to focus on fractions with area models and tiles, but number lines are a critical representation. There is a whole standard devoted to them. So make sure you don't skip over that. It's really, really important. And when we go to our opening routines for this unit, that's why we have a lot of clothesline math. It's a really great routine to reinforce number lines. I lied. There's one last thing I want to mention. If you are someone who is not familiar with IM, on those NA days where we recommend IM lessons, if you go into the lesson, that gives you all the details for the teacher. But what you're going to definitely want to know for a really quick thing is if you go down here, oops, I'm in the preparation page, student task statements. That is what you're going to want to print out for your students to actually do the math on. Everyone always wants access to those worksheets. That's where you find it. Good luck with third grade, Unit 5.